So, good morning, Story Trading VIPs. Off to a little bit of a technical issue over there. First we want to cover, wow, we had a great 3 weeks. Meta, we completely nailed last week. We'll get into the major indices in just a second, but Meta was just a great example of what a story trade is, using all the 4 pillars, or at least 2 of the 4 pillars: sentiment, technicals, catalysts, and fundamentals, to predict that move from $95 right to $112 exactly. That worked out really well. Now, we do have this gap fill possibility I was talking to you about $122. So whether that happens at this point, I think the easy money has been made. Whether we get this gap fill to $122, I think, is going to depend on market conditions. So we'll have to see how the market does, and we'll talk about that market in just a second. GOEV, it's making a way to our target, the 50 DMA, at about $1.80 or so. So this move has been made after that conference call, after the earnings, where management gave very, very strong remarks about their ability to raise capital, non-dilutive capital. We know they have strong business, strong backlog. They need to raise some money. So if they can raise some non-dilutive capital, then GOEV is going to do well. And that's why the stock is up very sharply from $1.10 or something, right? $1.15 to all the way up here at $1.70. So $1.81, that's your first target. Could it break out and go up here? Yeah, but I think the easy money's been made. So this may be good for either a pullback or a speculative long-term hold position, is what I'm thinking there with GOEV. DWAC, well, we played this right into the close last week. We had a little FOMO run end of the week on Friday because of Trump's announcement that is going to be running tomorrow night on Tuesday night. I expect a huge sell the news event. Now, that's such a widely known trade that it may materialize before Wednesday morning, right? The event is going to be Tuesday night. You can see that sell the news maybe as early as maybe the peak is going to be today, maybe it's going to be tomorrow. So now look, the $29 to $30 looks like the target here that it wants to retest. And, you know, if the fundamentals were good on this, I would like kind of hold for this and look for a break of 29.30 all the way up to 40-ish is what I'd be looking for on DWAC. But with the fundamentals poor, you know, I'm going to take my profits quickly on this one. Now, we got a couple big items we got to talk about before we get into the indices. RUM earnings today after the close. Conference call at 5 o'clock. I'll probably put up a special link so we can watch that conference call together. Maybe we'll make a public one on Rumble, get a bigger audience to talk about that Rumble conference call. Now, there's a good time to brush up on the fundamental story. Chris from SpacVest, he did some research on fundamentals. He put it up on his website. We interviewed him on that article, and that's what gave us intelligence to know that this had a great chance of having a bear rate all the way down close to $5, and it happened, went into the 6s. So I expect that fundamental report will not be as good here. People will be, wow, this company's really overvalued, and you can see a sell-off after earnings. That's what I'm expecting. So positioning like that, I'm advising the fund I now advise for, I'm advising them to position themselves for a sharp drop, but then it's going to be bought back up because of the strong sentiment on RUM. That's my prediction for RUM. A lot of volatility. We'll have to see exactly when that volatility hits, but I think there's going to be opportunities to buy this on a very nice dip, and we'll have to assess the report to kind of guess how low it could go before reversing. Now, who knows, right? Are they going to report like crazy amount of revenue no one expected and the thing explodes? Maybe, but I doubt it, okay? But we know that qualitatively, their user metrics are exploding. That's even a quantitative measure, but it's not revenue yet. So they're going to have plenty of good news to report today after the close. DRIO is going to have earnings after the close, but the conference call not going to be until tomorrow morning. We'll also do a show tomorrow morning so we can listen to the conference call together. So we'll have to reschedule the pre-market prep for tomorrow. Maybe we'll do it at 8 a.m. instead of 9 a.m. So stay tuned for DRIO. Not going to make any predictions until we see what they have to say. All right, Clearfield has earnings on Thursday morning. We got Chris Tarbert going to be joining us Wednesday morning to talk about Clearfield. We've been increasing our position in Clearfield as with that big pullback you just saw as we approach earnings. All indicators are that it's good. Now, SPY QQQ, obviously we had that record day in QQQ last week. Now, we've been using TLT as a tell, right, to give us a little hint what direction the market's going to be moving in. Now, this is interesting because as a swing, right, we noticed the break of the 20 DMA, and it was the first time it broke the 20 DMA since June 29th, which was the last time there was a huge bear market rally in the market, about 22% for the NASDAQ, 35% for the ARKK. Now, that's like a swing kind of move, right? You can see TLT, maybe the target's up here at 100. We're looking at TLT this morning saying, okay, maybe the market's going to have a pullback because TLT was down. Now the market was already having a pullback, but I like to look at TLT as a signal, an additional signal, whether those pullbacks will hold, they won't hold. So TLT, this turnaround this morning right now is interesting because it could mean that markets turn around. SPY is currently down 0.26, QQQ down 0.5. These could turn around if TLT continues to have strength this morning. But I'm a little bit suspicious of that because I like to see that correlation between TLT and UUP. You see the strength of the dollar. Dollar is up this morning 0.5%. If we just saw right now UUP going down and TLT going up, that'll be a stronger indicator. So watch TLT, UUP early in the morning. Sometimes this is going to be a leading indicator for what's going to happen for the stock market today. And ARK's going to follow the same way. Risk asset, TLT up, ARK up. So we'll have to see if that happens this morning. The other thing we look at as a proxy for risk is Bitcoin BITO. Now, this is not going to be as good as a proxy this week because now Bitcoin has its own issues because of FTX last week. So that correlation was lost a little bit with everything was happening in the crypto market. It didn't move together with TLT and ARK. It lost that correlation. So just keep that in mind that it's not as a reliable indicator right now. Now, if we do get a pullback in the indices, by the way, let's look at some of the levels. If we do get a pullback, you could see, well, you see this 5-minute 200 moving average here, but I like to go to the daily. You can see the daily on QQQ at 280, about 280, and the SPY over here, well, I would go to the top of that candle about 390. So you can see where the possible pullbacks are, and you saw the targets are way overhead, right? SPY 406 and QQQ much, much higher. Now, if we do get a pullback, we've noticed that these agriculture stocks, the solid names that have been doing very well in this bear market, they usually pull back when the market does well, right? People rotating their money. So keep an eye on these stocks. If the market does poorly, stocks like ADM bouncing off the 20 DMA, ADM, CNHI, TWI, all three important good stocks for us, big winners. Now, we got some news this morning. UUUU, uranium stock. This looks really interesting because they are UUU raising $120 million via asset sale that's going to give them non-dilutive financing. And they talk about that they won't need to dilute now to finish their exploration projects for uranium and rare earth minerals. That's a really good sign. Anytime you get a company saying that in a market like this, that they don't need to raise money, that's really good. Now, uranium and XLE are not really cooperating, so no sentiment tailwinds in the sector, but UUUU, I think that's a very big piece of news, and I may be willing to step into this thing this morning around these prices in the 770s. All right, let's see what else we got on our plate. We're just following XXII. Actually, there was some news out this morning. They're going to be at Roth and Craig Hallam this week with a couple meeting with investors, so that's good as they follow up to their earnings call last week. So this is bounced back up, a little bit of a congestion zone in here, but we like the risk reward for this in the long term. I got a speculative long-term position in XXII. DSKE also has some very interesting news, a very profitable cash flow positive company in the trucking sector. They announced a buyback after earnings last week, and they said, hey, our founder reached out to us, said, you want to do a buyback? Buy back my shares. So that's what they did. They bought back all the founders' shares here, and that's going to not dilute, it's going to decrease the share count, which is really good for DSKE. So that's a stock that could potentially have a great move this morning. Tough Build TBLT. Now, I don't know a lot about this stock. It had a great earnings report. If I knew it better, I may have jumped on it, especially if it was not a microcap, but it's a microcap with 5-cent EPS. If you annualize that, 20 cents, what is that? Like a 10, 12 PE this morning at $2.60. We saw this at 240. It ran to like 270. So you can take a look at the report if you're interested. You can see the technicals have been really bad. At some point, if this company can turn around, perhaps it's going to be a good investment or a good trade. But I don't know TBLT good enough to be able to jump into it this morning. Now, LLAP, this is the aerospace company that had a $100 million investment from Lockheed Martin. You can see that big volume. That's on the news of Lockheed Martin investment. And it pulled back after earnings here, bouncing back on a small catalyst. Had some news this morning that one of their spaceships made some sort of orbit around the moon, something like that. So that's causing a little bit of a reason for the stock to bounce back up. And with that strong tailwind of sentiment tailwind of Lockheed Martin now being an investor, that may be enough for a little bit of a turnaround in LLAP today. FREY had earnings this morning. Of course, they don't have earnings yet. This is all about CapEx, and they have long conversations about all their projects and all the CapEx they want to do. I continue to like this company very much. It's a top pick at Morgan Stanley, and I'm just tucking it away for the long term. Unless we get one of these gigantic spikes and it looks like overvalued, then maybe I'll trade it like we did last time. Took some off the table on that big spike. Now, I want to draw your attention to ZIM, which Matt gave us in our community earlier this year, and it went on a crazy run. Pulled back since then as a shipping company. They have earnings later this week, and it's coming off of the space and over the 50 DMA. So this may have momentum into earnings later this week. So take a look at ZIM with a PE of 0.5. So that's something interesting to look at. MobileEye, we really like this. We had that conversation with Chris from SpacVest, IPO Candy MobileEye on this one. And this really took off to new highs. It's only been public for about 10 days. And this fell off our radar. There were so many things going up late last week. This one fell off our radar, but we really like the stock. We like the fundamental support on this. We have about a $25 fundamental support level that Chris from IPO Candy gave us. So really like MobileEye here, something you can swing, something you can keep for a long-term hold. So MobileEye missed an opportunity Thursday, Friday, but going to look at this maybe for pullbacks, maybe for a trade this morning on MobileEye. Wow, there was supposed to be some news out on Tower Semi this morning. I didn't really see any stories on it. I see this one from Dow Jones. Maybe I got my timing wrong. I don't know why there's only one story here, so don't know what to make of this. There's really no volume. I don't think that's the news yet. Maybe that's expectations. Maybe that's coming out later. TSM. All right, so got a few others. I just see small caps, that we got to be careful with, but I'm playing with a little bit. SPRC, Talk, the story on Talk. TRT had great earnings last week. I'm hoping for a pop. These four, I want to focus more on them. TRT, Quick, CVV, DAIO, all of these have potential to really be, especially I think Quick, CVV, and DAIO. I think TRT is more of a trade, but Quick, CVV, and DAIO, they seem to have a lot going on. These are small semiconductor companies in that sector, and a lot of people have talked to me about them as a potential to be the next Air. Something like that. So something we want to keep an eye on. So all in all, today, slight modest pullback. Watch TLT, see if that gives us any clues. If TLT stays red, I would towards the downside. At this point, I think it's just a technical correction because of that big move on TLT over the 20 DMA and this target at the higher moving average. I think this bear market rally still has legs, but we may have to go staircase our way there and go through this pullback first. So that's the story. There's lots of things here that we made sense of, that we can understand, and that we can potentially play pullbacks or pops throughout the day this morning. So stay tuned with us. We'll be back at 4 p.m. for a quick post-market wrap, and I think at 4:30, the latest, we'll jump on a live stream so we can listen to the RUM call together and maybe quickly look also at the Dario earnings press release together. So thank you for joining us. And if you're listening to the replay on YouTube, you could join us at StoryTrading.com, 7-day free trial. And then you can get all of these shows every single morning at 9 a.m. Eastern and lots of other shows throughout the week for free for the first 7 days. And if you like it, you hang on. If you don't, you get out of there. So thanks everyone for your support, and we'll see you around in the rooms in just a few minutes.